Breaking new ground in both military and entrepreneurial fields, Nick Grillo joins us today to share his journey from service to success. Nick is a 12-year U.S. Air Force veteran and the owner and CEO of Elevate Vending. During his military career, Nick developed exceptional problem-solving skills and attention to detail, strengths he now applies in his business ventures. After completing his service, he founded Tranquility Smart Homes and Security, a veteran-owned company specializing in smart home integration, automation, and security solutions across the DMV area. Known for his warm personality and innovative approach, Nick has built a reputation for delivering outstanding customer experiences through straightforward, effective designs that make smart technology accessible to everyone. His business philosophy focuses on providing tailored solutions that fit each client's unique needs and budget.
Welcome to the MilCom Founders Podcast, where we champion and celebrate military community business founders. In each episode, we will talk with a MilCom business founder to learn how they work through various obstacles and opportunities in business and in life. I'm your host, Rod Loches. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to the MilCom Founders Forum Podcast, where we champion and celebrate military community business owners. I'm your host, Rod Loches. Today, I'm excited to champion and celebrate Nick Grillo, a veteran of the Air Force and founder of Elevate Vend. I'm really looking forward to learning about Nick's journey as a military community founder. Nick, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Hey, Rod, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me out.
But tell me about who you are, name, rank, serial number, why'd you join the military, let's start there. How did you think about starting and going into the military?
So it really started, I was born in Syracuse, New York. I was raised by my mother with my two sisters. I was kind of one of those pretty typical guys, didn't really know where I wanted to go. College wasn't quite the journey path for me. Was kind of looking at trade school, and I had my brother-in-law, who is also one of my business partners now. But he had joined the military, and I really saw his journey and really what it did for him. I was really big into mechanics, working on things, cars, motorcycles, really anything. And it's where ultimately I found a pathway in the Air Force.
So, and what did you do in the Air Force, curiously?
So I initially joined in 2010, right out of high school. And I started off as a powered support systems mechanic. So I worked on all of the different equipment that supported unmanned aircraft for the Air Force. It was a really cool first start. Did a lot of my deployments through there. And then ultimately, I transitioned into training management, so more into kind of the strategic side of things and the management side.
Got it. Very cool. Now let's take a step back. Tell me about your family. You've got a couple kids, I believe.
I do. I have two squirrely, very passionate little girls. I have my daughter, Nicolette. She was born on the 4th of July. She's turning 4 this year. So we make it the whole big thing that the 4th of July is for her, and that's why everyone celebrates it. So we run that as long as we can. And then I have my daughter, Camila. She was born December 13th. So she is going on 5 months old at this point.
Wow.
I kind of see their personalities as they're all starting to come out. I see where they take after me a bit, some of that stubbornness that I love. Didn't really identify it until I saw it in action of how that can be.
That's funny. That's fun. Well, the July 4th baby, that's kind of that's pretty cool. The fireworks are all about her, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We make it my wife and I, we make it the whole celebration. That everybody gets everyone's out of school, everyone gets the day off, everyone's having a barbecue, and it's all just because of her being born. So we'll see how long we can kind of run with that.
I love it. One of the best places I've ever seen fireworks is on the boat in the Inner Harbor of Baltimore. Just absolutely fantastic display, and being right there in the water was incredible. So you'll have to take her up there on the boat someday and let her enjoy that for her birthday. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's she loves it, and we'll just really see how long we can keep the spirit alive for it.
That's
until
right.
We have to maybe break the news like Santa Claus. So.
Yep, that's right. And Nick, when you're not working, what do you like to do? What's fun? What do you enjoy doing? But when you get a chance to get some sleep with a 5-month-old, what do you like to do?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I have a fantastic wife who really, right now the baby and her are one of the same. So, but whenever I'm, do get the chances to not work, I'm a really big hockey enthusiast. I love the Washington Capitals, love watching the Capitals. So I have this whole project that started from something small to something way bigger than I intended, but I made a whole cool hockey automation room right in my home. So while I was home with the baby, um, I could actually watch the games and have my lights and fog machine, all this stuff interact with it. So really big into watching hockey, the sport, um,
That's right.
and things. And then of course taking my daughter to the playground, taking her someplace new, building something together with her, doing an arts and crafts. So and then any chance I get, I'm very fortunate. My family, we did what we called the Great Migration from New York, and everyone moved down here to the DMV area. So we are together very traditionally every Sunday over at my mother's house, and she was
Wow.
right off the boat from Sicily. So we get the whole authentic cooking, everything every Sunday. There's
Sign me up. I'll be over there.
yeah, you're always welcome. It is yet to disappoint. We don't always let her know that, but there's plenty to go around for everyone.
Uh-huh. Years ago, my bonus mom, other people would call her my stepmom. Her parents are directly off the boat from Italy. Uh, my bonus mom's mom asked me how I make my spaghetti sauce.
Uh-oh, that's a
And
trick
I,
question.
yeah, and I says, well, I pour it out of a can. And she was like, oh my God, you can't.
Oh,
So to this day, my bonus mom, Mama Lulu, still makes me spaghetti sauce. So but what a gift that you guys all did the Great Migration down to the DC area that you guys can do that every Sunday. That is an amazing gift that you have.
yeah, it's fantastic just having family close by. And, at the time when we did, the Great Migration, neither one of my kids were born. I was very newly married. And, the concept of having family nearby has always been, that's been embedded since I was as a kid. Um, didn't really know how helpful that was until we started having kids to be able to call my mother or call my older sister up and say, like, I'm not sure what to do with this.
Yeah.
Can you just come help? Can you do that? And really it is that concept of, it kind of takes a village, right? And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I have, family nearby that's always willing to jump in and help.
Yeah, that's fantastic because so many of us in the DC area do not have that. And we may build our virtual families for the DC area, but to have that genuine, that's fantastic. So the Caps Cave that you've built, tell me a little bit about this, and it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been like I said earlier, it's taken a little bit of a mind of its own, I'll say. So my wife said, "Why don't you make the downstairs of our townhouse? Why don't you just make that your hockey room, right? The whole rest of the house is kind of, consumed by the girls and everything. So why don't you do that for you?" So I have a background in security and a little bit into automation, and I figured out really how to make one light change colors when the Capitals scored. And so it started from one light to I wonder if I could get three lights, and that was like if I already have three lights, why not do 10 lights? And it went from that concept all the way to a fully autonomous room that whenever the Capitals score, a big goal light goes off, all the lights change, the screens play a whole automation sequence, a foghorn goes off. It was kind of about that end user experience, right? And we wanted it to feel like when you're the equivalent of being at the game. So as I
Uh-huh.
couldn't go to as many games, we said, well, why don't we make that? So if you ask my wife, I think that this is probably 10 times more than what she actually signed up for with allowing me to use this room. But but I
Yep, that's great. So the Caps Cave, and I think your daughter, your 4 or 5 year old, she gets into the games now too, right?
she does. She started learning. She learned who Slapshot was. Anytime he comes on TV, it's her finding Slapshot in his nest, which is somewhere in the arena. She's got the go Caps go chant down, and so we really make it a whole kind of family experience. Now that they're in the playoffs, we all go downstairs. She gets her special juice box. Um,
Great.
She learned very quickly on how to get, dad a drink from the little mini
Uh-huh.
fridge down there. So
Your special juice
yeah,
box
my
too, right?
special juice boxes that I
Uh-huh.
get. So she walks over, she brings me the little juice box opener and and a cold one, and we all
Uh-huh.
just sit down there and watch the game, and it's a lot of fun. So it's engaging. That was kind
Yeah,
of the point, is how do we kind of do something to get everybody together, for something that we all like.
that's fantastic. Tell me about a personal challenge that you've overcome yourself, opportunity or challenge that you've overcome in your personal life.
Oof. In my personal life, let's see, on a personal side, I guess it's personal, and that kind of blends a little bit also into the military career. Aside from being raised by my mother, who is a phenomenal human being, at a young age, trying to kind of navigate what it was like to, you know, be a guy, right? In a household of women, and trying to figure out, especially in your young teens, and go through that. Post-military, after I made the decision that, the military after 12 years really wasn't, I loved it. I enjoyed my time, and I was kind of, wanting something more. That in and of itself came with a lot of challenges,
I
trying to
bet.
navigate, I'm a pretty decisive individual, and I can tell you, after I made that decision to get out, I had, all the questions of, was that a good idea, right? I mean, I got that far in my career, it's very stable and things like that. And so, the challenge really became, what am I going to do after I leave here? Or, I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have everything lined up ready to go for me. So, trying to figure out, how to take everything I learned from the military and apply it to kind of a passion.
Yeah. And Nick, that's understandable. That's a big, the transition is always a more challenging than we think, going from service to civilian life. And for you, you jumped right in. It looks like you jumped right in with your first business, didn't you?
I did. So, my very first business I started, I kind of say by accident. So I was at home. We had just moved down here. My wife and I, when we decided that we were moving, she's also in the Air Force, so she got orders down here to Andrews. We sold our house, bought initially in Maryland. Our home closed, what was it, at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and at eight
Uh-huh.
o'clock the entire country shut down for the pandemic.
Mm.
So we kind of, when we joke about fleeing New York, so when we got down here, again, everything was shut down. We didn't know what we were doing. So I had a little bit of background in, like, kind of the security side of things. I did security force augmentation, like with the Air Force, things like that. So
Yeah.
I put up just a post on Nextdoor. She's like, "Hey everyone, I'm Nick. I can do handyman stuff, and I can do a lot more. I can do things with automation a little bit, things like that. Especially as it was kind of starting to come online and start to grow. Start off with one job that was just me, really me, just trying to make some side money, right, to
Sure.
occupy the time. And it was one job. She put up a great review online, and it went from one job to like three jobs to five jobs to 10 jobs, and kind of in and of itself kind of took its own shape of a whole business. So I ran it. I was able to fortunately have some really good people beside me, and really help me run that race. So, that gave me a lot of the kind of the bumps, the bruises, the things like that to figure out as we went and ultimately launched Elevate. But it was a lot of connections, it was partnerships, it was people kind of I met along the way
Yeah.
throughout that journey that carried on to really essentially what we do now.
Wow. Wow. So we'll get to Elevate in a second here, but
Sure.
that's pretty amazing that you went and just said, "Hey, let's try this. The world's changed, and let's get out there and make something happen." So congratulations and thank you for having that heart. That's for sure. So what do you do to take care of yourself? So many of us today, we're so fast. The veteran founder is so busy. What do you do to take care of yourself first and foremost?
For me, I'm very big on just relationships. I'll talk with friends, I'll talk with my family, and kind of that ability to connect, right? Even beyond business, because business just, it does consume you if you let it. I try to make sure that best I can have more of a set schedule. But it's things like trying to eat right, trying to get to bed, at a decent time, trying to watch how much, alcohol intake that you have, things like that, right? And that's always, after a long week. But just staying active, right? And kind of understanding that don't let your business run you, run your business, which is very hard. It's not always that linear, but to just be able to kind of have that self-care, right? That ability to kind of identify when you're starting to reach that burnout phase. And then what do you do with it? I think it's easy to identify and it's harder to figure out what to do with it next. So
Mhm.
I like to go on walks. Sometimes I just walk around, kind of stroll through, whether it's the neighborhood. One thing everybody here makes fun of me for it. It's but I tend to pace around when I'm on the phone. I'm just a naturally pretty busy person. So as soon as, it's kind of rare that you're seeing me sitting here at a desk right now, because if I'm not at the desk, I'm pacing in circles, just talking on the phone,
Yeah.
kind of being active. So
Yeah, I call those the walkabouts. Our office is in Occoquan, little town, and oftentimes I'll say to a team member, "Hey, let's go for a walk," and they're like, "You mean a walk and talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's it."
yep,
And
two birds with one stone.
that's right, that's right. That was a great quote you had a minute ago about don't let your business run you, run your business. That is such a true point. That's for sure. So good insight.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
so Nick, what's a great story that you something that you learned in the military and the Air Force that you've been able to apply in business?
Absolutely. So I think a lot of it comes to really like that perseverance, right? I think that there's a commonality amongst veterans that it's you can call it stubbornness. That's what my wife would call it, but that kind of grit and that determination, right? You've got an objective and you're going to go at that thing
Yeah.
until you either fail at it or you move on from it and you figure it out kind of along the way. So that adaptability. I can give you an example really of just kind of something that went on even fairly recently that I can say my military background helped, kind of push us through it.
Hmm.
Um, so we had a very large contract come up, that national contract, 50 locations right here in this area alone. And, you know, we really found that while it was a great and it had so much runway with it, it really wasn't meeting our risk profile and mitigating it. So it was just way too much risk tolerance for what we were, but it was right there kind of for us to grow with. So being able to kind of walk away from, make a decision and own that decision and move on from that decision, that those management skills, I don't claim to have all of those, but I think it's understanding that you might not have all the answers, but it's relying on the people around you, right? Those
Yeah.
partnerships, those other people, and that networking ability. But I think, the true grit in a lot of veterans is just understanding where those pain points are and how to address those pain points and make a decision to move forward.
Right.
One of the things someone told me, some advisement I got a while ago, and it was just something that always stuck with me, was fail fast and pivot.
That's right.
So if you can get to that point, whatever your decision is, make that decision, move forward on it, and it's going to work or it's not going to work, and then pivot from that. And I think that pivot is that quintessential piece that I think a lot of veterans, from their service have that ability to pivot on the spot on most things.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's interesting. You talk about make the decision and move on. One of my grandpas, Grandpa Logis, he was a combat World War II veteran. He saw the worst of the worst, and he gave me lots of management teachings. And one of them was, no matter what you do, make a decision. He said the deal is so many people do not make a decision. If 51% of the time you make the decision, you're right, you're going to win the game. He says, so don't worry about making the right or wrong one, just make a decision and take all the information you got, make the informed decision, and move forward. I've always remembered that one of his many teachings for me. That's for sure.
Well, that I appreciate his service, and I mean that's phenomenal advice, and I think that's pretty aligned with with that, right? Make a decision, and then you're going to find out pretty quickly, and understand your numbers, your understanding where your risk is, and then what your risk tolerance is for that, and really pressing on from it.
Yeah.
You get the most data, and I mean, you really will find out if your plan works by executing it. But like you said, Rod, I think sometimes the hardest thing is we do sit down, right? And we really, and I'll say, and as veterans, we have sometimes a tendency to overanalyze things, right? Where it's got to be perfect before we do it. And
Right.
that was sometimes a hard thing to break, right? Is trying to perfect the process before you do it. And sometimes it is just doing it and seeing where it lands. We joke here, we talk about the knockout punches, right? That's what you're really trying to avoid, making that one decision that is the knockout blow to your company. But you're going to take some on the chin. There just can't be that knockout blow one to the chin. So, kind of understanding your business and its life, and how it takes on a life of its own and how to kind of nurture it the best way.
That's right. That's right. It's like its own little kid that you start, and you got to just keep helping it grow and learn. That's for sure. So good point. So Elevate Vend, tell me the initial story. Why? How did that come about?
Why? So, was still doing the security business, and I was actually kind of branched into, met somebody who had their own vending company, started doing a little bit of consulting with them. Really kind of realized that there was a huge gap in the marketplace. I met one of my business partners at the time there, and realized that there was really a gap there, for what these on-site providers were giving, right? It was kind of old machines, status quo stuff, things that everyone's seen and things people didn't really want anymore. So I called up one of my now business partner, Sebastian, who I kind of met through the consulting side of things, and then my brother-in-law, Joe, and said, guys, I've got this concept. I think we need to offer something better equipment, better service, and better offerings, and combine that with a whole total process and really kind of make some waves in here. So, they, maybe against better judgment, they've said, hey, like, let's do this, let's run with it. So, June of 23, we had, essentially started Elevate, but Elevate didn't even have a name at that point. 23 was really getting our grassroots. And then 24, after we kind of learned some of the bumps and bruises, then we launched it. So, Elevate in and of itself we have a couple different pillars that really, I think, make us unique in the marketplace. We do a smart autonomous AI style coolers that are very modernized looking, and they fit in any type of high profile or really any demographic as a whole.
Yep.
And we have that. We offer not just conventional items or your favorite kind of standard items, but we do a really big emphasis on local items, locally sourced items, things made right here in the DMV area. That can be something like a healthy chip, a relaxation tea, a brand new kind of style of lemonade. Things that are really just unique that you might not always see at a grocery store or anything. It's something you can't really always get at home. And then we also carry fresh food on site. So things that can be like barbecue, mac and cheese, keto-friendly meals, Mediterranean power bowls, chicken salad wraps, anything like that. It's all made right here in the DC area.
What was that great drink that I enjoyed when I was up at your office the other day? It was locally made.
It is. It's one of our favorite vendors. We work. They're a phenomenal group of guys. It's called Zen Joy, and it's a relaxation tea made with ashwagandha. And they took a great approach, right? They said, well, every other drink is trying to amp you up, right? To get through your day. How much caffeine can we pump in this? How much can we do there? And they said, why don't we do the opposite? How do we calm people down a little bit, right? And, to kind of get through their day. And it's a fantastic drink. They're manufactured right out of Maryland. Small group of guys, completely exploding in the marketplace.
That's awesome. Zen Joy. I got to write that down. I didn't write that down the other day, so thank you.
Yeah.
Why you? Why were you the guy to start this business?
So, why I started, I think it just kind of comes from that feeling of service, right? In a way, right? Kind of same concept as the military is.
Yeah.
I think seeing the disservice that was out there in the marketplace and also being an end user of it, right? I mean, I've been an end user just like anybody else. I've gone to a machine that didn't work, took my money, anything like that, and said, like, this is enough. And it really tied together a lot of the things that, I'm pretty passionate about. I'm huge. I love partnerships. Everyone growing together, kind of that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. That's really what we're trying to, by helping someone and they're helping us, everybody's winning in that scenario. So I don't want to say that maybe I was the only guy to be able to do it, but I think just tying into kind of really more so like my passion and, between business, relationships, um, innovation, things like that was a great segue. And Elevate was really kind of the perfect vessel for that.
Yep. Well, Nick, I've experienced your focus on relationships. In fact, that's why we call 1 degree 1 degree. Life's about 1 degree relationships. How do you find them, get them, and keep them? And I appreciate your efforts to get to know each other, figure things out, collaborate. I think collaboration is a key to success in business today. We met at the PenFed VEAP program. Talk about collaboration. Tell me about the success and what that has brought to you and your business, the PenFed VEAP program.
Yeah, so for the PenFed Foundation, I mean, we were really fortunate to be selected for it. So it's a very, as you know, Rod, it's a very intense accelerator program. So they do 3 cohorts a year. They only pick 6 companies per cohort, and it's out of a few hundred different applicants. So we got to go on a nice. They paid for us to go out. They don't take any equity in your company, and then they put you in front of great, partnerships, people that you can work with like yourself. So we were fortunate for Elevate to have gone through that and really meet, like you said, on those partnerships, meet people at, everyone's in very different levels of their business, different stages of growth, and being able to kind of rely on that type of team, right? Those people that have volunteered their time, like 1 degree, things like that, to really get us going or help us kind of identify those areas in our business that, that tidal wave, right? That's what we're always trying to avoid, is the tidal wave you don't see coming behind you. And sometimes it does take another set of eyes, right? Or people who have been seasoned in business to actually look at those things and say, hey guys, you really need to look at this if you want to get this to the next level.
Yeah. I think that learning that comes through there, and with the PenFed VEAP program, not having their own investment, I think is almost a freeing thing, that you're there to learn and grow, and the relationships you'll make may open up other investment opportunities if you want them anyways. But to be focused on the founder, helping them learn and grow, I think is just such an important piece, and so that's really cool. So what's one thing, and I think I already know the answer to this, that's helped you start to scale your business?
Well, I just to keep the partnership piece of it,
Yep.
right? So you already knew it. So the partnership side of it for us, and why, I get the opportunity to boast about Elevate, but it really is the team behind that really that pushes it forward. But by working together, right, by partnering, finding, similarities, or even finding areas, like as we've partnered with like one of our great vendors, Mighty Meals, right? They carry all of our different fresh food items that we partner with them. They have a fantastic product, but getting to marketplace, they didn't necessarily have the infrastructure. We had the infrastructure, but we didn't necessarily have the great product. So, 2 great companies are merging together to kind of fix a big problem, right? And things, other hurdles. So, any advisement I ever get to any entrepreneur, anybody really doing anything, it's those relationships, fostering those relationships. And it's not always about making money, right? It's not always about what can you do for me, but it's what can I do for you? And, something my business partner shared with me a long time ago, he said, the quickest way to get $1 is put $1 in someone else's pocket, right? The more that you can work with somebody else and have that relationship reciprocal, I think that's key. We were very fortunate. We were approached by Ely Coffee and Reliant Coffee, who we partner with, to be the sole distributor and exclusive rights to the DMV area. And
Wow.
to get that at such a young and small business, it seems like when I share that piece of the story, right, it's like, hey, all of the golden doors have opened up and you just walk through it and everything's easy from that. That's the starting point, right? That's all the work you get to get to that. And it's fostering that relationship and that partnership to now move forward together, and using their resources, they're using our resources to keep that kind of dream and keep those things moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It does come down to relationships. How do you find them, get them, and build them? That's for sure. So in business, there's always opportunities and obstacles that we face. What's an opportunity and obstacle that you faced? And we talked about one earlier, but that you faced and overcome and got through, that you think other veteran business founders would benefit from hearing and learning from?
Uh, and I'll kind of go back a little bit to, something that felt detrimental at the time and something that we were able to pivot from and actually turned out to be a great thing, which, you don't always see coming. Um, I think it's embracing that pivot, right? Embracing that you are going to take things on the chin from time to time, right? It is not, nothing is going to go perfect. It's not always going to align in the way that you need it to. So I'll kind of share like a story, and what I touch back a little bit on, but we did a pilot program with a very large publicly traded company. So as a small business, to get a call from a publicly traded company to say, hey, not only do we want this area, we're nationwide, and you can grow as much as you want with us. I mean, that is like those are the phone calls that you're like praying that you get one day. We worked with them. We did a pilot program, very successful program, and we got the call of, hey, we started with 4. We want to give you guys 10 more locations, and we want to keep growing this going forward. We worked with them. We went back and forth on some contractual terms and really realized that like our risk profile was just way too great in that expansion, and we could not get really much leeway at all for the type of service that, the new equipment, the type of service, the concierge style amenity that we offer to those locations. It was just far too great. So partnerships, we lean back to, like yourself, Rod. I know you've heard this because you helped us troubleshoot this whole thing, but also members from the PenFed Foundation that volunteered their time from all different walks of life. Startup Junkies with Jeff, our mentor, Rick, to kind of just really get our arms around it. We ultimately politely declined to expand with these guys any further just because it was just far too great. And we didn't want that one knockout blow, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid. How do you do that? So we sent off, drafted our partnerships, everything really kind of helped carry us through that, turning down such a big opportunity. What felt like sent off an email. Full disclosure, I pretty much made myself sick after I sent off that email with, I can't believe I just turned this down, right? What felt like a Shark Tank opportunity. But we embraced it, right? As a team, we all worked through it and we said, okay, hey, we're not here with this, but going forward, we can maneuver, right? We don't have to have it. Let's just kind of work our strong side. So next 2 days after we turned that down, we got a call from Monumental Sports Group for the Washington Capitals saying, hey, we reviewed your proposal. We don't want just one location. We want 6 more on top of it.
Wow.
And then we moved through and ultimately closed a contract that we never thought was even a thing. So by kind of embracing that downside and what didn't seem like it at the time, by embracing that and moving forward, it actually opened up an opportunity we didn't actually even know was there.
Congratulations. Yeah, you listened. Where are you going to be, or people are going to feel grateful for having the relationship with you, and that's where you spent your time with Monumental. So that's a great insight. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's embracing that pivot. It doesn't feel it, and going back to those relationships. Those are the people that also help carry you through it, right? And realize that everybody has doubts. My wife will probably tell you I don't, but without how I convey things to her. But we all doubt things, right? I mean, you're making big decisions every day, and as an entrepreneur, you're wearing 10 different hats all the time. You're always switching and flipping and trying to think of, hey, how do we keep this, this life of a business going, and how do we take it to that next level and things. So having those relationships to be able to lean on and say, this is how I'm looking at it, but how do you see it? And I think that's a huge piece of it, and what helps you not make poor decisions, and also, rely on your resources and to give you well-rounded information to make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So, Nick, I'm getting close to the end here, and I know your time is very valuable. What are some resources that you've used over the years, books, podcasts, whatever the case may be, that you found helpful and that you've learned from? Any suggestions?
I'll say, there's a book that I read, and I'm going to draw a blank on the name on it. For myself personally, I like to listen to podcasts sometimes when I'm driving into work or things like that. Um, I really I love to network. I love to hear the stories of others, right? And by kind of hearing everybody's story, right, and sharing those stories, the goods, the bads, and the indifference. For myself, that's really like kind of where I find like helps me. It's having those conversations with people with all different walks of life, all different areas.
Yeah.
Um, that's where I find I gain the most. I am an excessive researcher. I love to look things up. I get very curious about things and we'll go down a rabbit hole to try to figure it out, kind of like the hockey room, right? You start with one
Uh-huh.
thing and you end up with something way bigger than what you thought. So that's really like kind of like where some of the things that I find motivating and really I think it's trying to find, understanding yourself, understanding your limitations, understanding where you excel and really, what is the point, right? I mean, really understanding like what is the point of your business or why do you even have your business, right? Is it just to make money? Is it a place to sit every day? Do you do it for your family? For myself, my everything is for my family, my friends, the people who work within this business. That's where and our customers, that's where my devotion goes to. But it's kind of understand if you can understand the why. Why do you do it? The rest comes, right? You can figure out the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that we often challenge business owners to think about is what's their end game?
Sure.
What does the end game look like, time frame wise, goal wise, financially? And so many founders don't take that time to think about that. And understandable, which there's so many things pulling on them. It's like, hey, that's 3 years down the way, that's 5 years down the road. But have you thought about what does the end game look like for Elevate Vend?
I always say that, Elevate, we're posturing for the long run. We do have our end in sight. We have kind of our acquisition ideology and then our long term. So, the way in building any business, how I look at it, you're building it to have the strength for the long term, a 20, 30-year style business. But you
Hmm.
should always also have in the back of your mind of you're building it for somebody to buy it. I mean, that's really what,
That's a great point.
what the purpose is. So, how do you kind of make, grow that equity? How do you make it worth something to, a Sodexo, an Airmark, some other one of your competitors says, you're such a nuisance in my side. I want to buy you out of your game. Um,
Hmm.
so but I agree, Rod, that was one of the first things, like even when you and I first met, I think that was one of the first questions you ever asked me. You said, "Hey, I'm Rod." I said, "I'm Nick." You said, "What's your end goal?" Where do you
That's
want to
right.
be? And that got me, I mean, that in and of itself got me thinking of where are we getting, right? Because you're always running, you're always
Hmm.
moving and moving and moving, but you're not moving with an intent to get somewhere. You're just kind of going for a jog at that point.
Yep.
So, Elevate's postured for the long term with the overview of we're trying to build, we're building a company that's very modular, right? Whether, to grow it out beyond the DMV area.
Right. So Nick, appreciate your time very much, and your insights had really good insights. Who's another military community founder that's inspired you that you've enjoyed working with, getting to know? You're like, wow, that guy's really kicked it out of the park. This lady's really done that. Well, any suggestions on a couple of those people?
Um, for myself, probably not one in particular, but I do have, I really will go back more so to the Penfed Foundation as a whole. Um, I can tell you one of the biggest things about myself that after I got out of the military and then started a business, I mean, you oftentimes feel like you are alone on an island. You are surrounded by people, your partnerships, your relationships, but it feels like nobody really quite gets it and you were just there, taking flack all day, right? And trying to
Yep.
figure it out, keep your head above water. I'll say the foundation was a big piece for me. That was really back in March. One of the first times I really feel like I actually went into an environment of veterans and entrepreneurs combined and felt like, wow, you know what? This walk isn't by yourself. It's not alone, right? You're
That's right.
going through these same things, whether, you're all in different boats going down the same river, pretty much.
100%.
So
100%.
I would say like that for myself as a resource for it, like for instance, yourself meeting at the foundation, things working through our hard points, right? With a contract that was very difficult. That's, those are, embodied in that kind of veteran entrepreneurial spirit. So,
Yeah.
that's why I throw such a big thanks to you, the One Degree team, the PenFed Foundation, everybody who's really even helped us, get over these hurdles and keep growing our company successfully and being able to give the best product to our customers.
Okay. Okay. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time today, Nick. In
Yeah.
honor of your time, we're going to donate $100 to the Dick Logis Scholarship Fund that goes towards a military community's a child that wants to go to either trade school or university. So I appreciate that very much. And thank you
We
again.
appreciate you, and really we'd love to do the same. We appreciate, match that same donation. We love what you guys are doing, what you're doing for the community, helping veterans figure it out, right? And how to take
Yep.
those skills and apply it going forward. So we would love, to do the same.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the MilCom Founders Podcast. If you know a MilCom founder with a story to share, reach out to us at milcomfounders.com. For each guest on our show, One Degree Financial donates $100 to the Dick Logis Veteran Entrepreneur Scholarship Fund, supporting education for children of a MilCom business owner. Stay ready.